Hello, this is Brandon Runkle. I am the writer and director of Gundam Father of Peace. I am also the voice of Joshua Wolf.
Hello, my name is Gregory Ray. I am the chief button pusher. I am also the voice of the spy and the co-designer of Razor.
My name is Sarah Runkle, and I am the artistic director. I am also the voice of Shade Laree and Casilia Zabi.
And this is our first commentary for Gundam Father of Peace, Episode 1. So we've never actually done commentaries before, so bear with us. But this is a project we've been working on for years. Episode 1 took... How many years do you think it took, guys?
4 years?
Something like that.
Maybe 3 years. I think it was...
half.
It took a lot to make this. Especially this intro. This intro is beautiful. I love it. Sarah did that scene right there.
In some ways, we got the intro done pretty fast, but there was a lot of background that went into it. We had to design all of these sets, and the G.I. Joe sets have to be built. All of the Gundam scale sets have to be built long before we can ever do any filming.
Sarah's the detailed designer of Gundam Father of Peace. So I usually come up with the concepts and the designs of what I want, and then once my movie set is entirely built, she'll come in and say, no, you need this. I'm like, it's done, Sarah. Don't do that. No. Oh, wow, that looks really good. And that's kind of how it goes.
It's true. That is kind of how it goes. But Brandon is really great at figuring out what he wants to make happen, and it's pretty cool to work on this project.
At the recording of this, we're working on episode 2. It's still in its early stages, but coming along pretty good. Greg here is a pretty important person. Chief Button Pusher sounds like somebody who gets on people's nerves, but when Sarah or I are animating and moving around the figures and things, Greg is the person at the computer who pushes the button to take the picture so that the person animating can keep animating. And so Chief Button Pusher is a very important title.
You can't have stop motion animation without a bazillion pictures.
That's right. This music was made by R.C. Mangan, who's making his own animation series as well. I electrical taped those legs to my fingers and made them walk.
The cool thing is it made the ground move because the Gundam was so heavy, but it was sort of a side effect.
Everyone laughs at this part. It wasn't intended to be funny. I guess it's okay that it is. I mean, it is kind of funny. But then everyone realizes, oh, he's a spy.
What was kind of interesting is how there's a payphone in the middle of nowhere that the spy is actually miraculously able to call the base on.
They hadn't shut down services to the city yet. Okay, now this part, I had the flu or something, and while making Joshua go up in the lift, I literally had to refilm it. I believe it was 3 times. It might have been 4, but every time I got going, something would go horribly wrong. And
one time the light was moving slowly, and it slowly fell.
Something that ruined it every time. But every time I would have to stop and go to the bathroom and throw up and lay down for a while and come back and try again. So I'm very proud of that scene. It was blood, sweat, and tears.
It was the last scene to be filmed for Part 1's release.
We actually moved across the country once during the filming of this, and I guess we mostly only had 2 different places that everything was set up, but we had to completely restructure and start from scratch on some things.
The music on this really improved it a lot.
We are so grateful to all of the people who have done voice acting for this, because you can't have characters that you can really buy into as easily if you don't have enough voices, and it takes a lot of people to be able to get enough voices, otherwise you have a lot of repetition.
Also, it takes a lot of guts to be a voice actor, because, we didn't have any paid actors, we didn't have anybody who was a professional voice actor, and so that meant that you know, sometimes our acting wasn't the most fantastic, but everybody gave their best and they put themselves out there. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And so I am so grateful to everyone who's ever put a voice into Gundam Father of Peace, because subtitles just don't do it for me.
In this action sequence coming up, we actually decided what was going to happen based on working backwards. We first built the battle scarred unit the way we wanted it to finish, and then we designed the battle around what needed to happen to damage it that way. It's kind of a fun way to do it.
And then we disagreed on where the Zaku should land when it gets cut in half. And somehow it worked out the way I wanted it to.
I actually really like that's a nub of an arm that we put in place of its head, and I think it looks pretty cool. This was a fun scene. This was Brandon's figuring out how to make the screen be all fuzzy. He overlaid a fuzz screen with the film. It was pretty cool. And then he overlaid that again with the cockpit.
Some of this is our original mouth animation on Collins. And that's when we were just still trying to figure out how to do mouth animation. And it's kind of rough sometimes, but it was the beginning for what we do now, where we make the whole jaw move when they talk, which looks really good. And everyone's favorite part, go!
I think it was a pretty cool place to end for the part one. You have no idea what's gonna happen to anybody, who's dead and who's not, and what's gonna happen next.
Now in this scene, I thought the light would be a better choice of when he came into the building, but it appeared that there was no light, so.
This isn't good.
Message from our spy, sir.
Put it up. Commander Verder, sir. This is Alan Thomas.
No, the light was there.
Status report.
The mouth editing we had to completely, and actually a lot of the effects that we do, we had to just figure out what we wanted to make happen, and figure out how to get it that way. Mostly we use GIMP. We don't have fancy programs.
Commander Werner's so scary.
We were inspired by, is it Gorgo?
Yeah, Gorgo.
Brandon and I watched a G.I. Joe film where he had mouth movement, and it was so cool.
No, it was a Gundam stop motion.
Gundam?
They had
Okay.
G.I. Joes in it, 12 inches.
Now here comes the very interesting part. Your first intro to Razor.
Greg is the guy that thought him up.
Greg, you wanted him to have that really metallic robot kind of
Yeah,
voice,
I want
right?
him to be a character that was void of emotions. Like when he speaks to his helmet, he speaks very robotic, very cold. You can't really tell if he's human or if he's a machine.
Which is kind of funny because Greg is the spy and he's talking to a character he created. And originally, we were going to have Greg voice Razor. But when we did the modifications to Greg's voice, it still sounded like Greg. And when we modified my voice, it still sounded like me. But when we took Josiah Oliver's voice, it sounded like someone completely different. And so Josiah Oliver ended up voicing Razor. And here we have Razor's first very interesting flashback.
By the way, it was incredibly difficult to build that cape. You wouldn't think so, but it took a lot. Also, in that last scene, that was a gold bar, in case you couldn't tell. The lighting kind of made it look a little bit greenish, but it's a gold bar. I think Cecilia turned out pretty cool, though. She looks very harsh, which is fitting for her
Someone come
character.
quick! I found Private Ryan's body! I gotta get out of here!
Gundam Father Peace will be back.
And so we have our
Gundam Father of Peace.
first commercial here showing off me and members of Wolfpack Productions who gave their voices. And then there's Charlie, my stuffed animal. He does the sound effects for the wolf at the beginning of Wolfpack Productions. There's Bradburn Base, version 3. We had to build 3 of them. First one was made in footage you'll never see because it was really bad. And then the second one was the earlier scenes where you saw Joshua getting in his Gundam. And then we moved and had to build a new one. And so this is the third one.
I actually had a whole hospital curtain and everything nearly done, but it was a little too hard to figure everything out for it, so we ended up scrapping it.
Yeah, I didn't want to bump the hospital curtain while animating.
But I did make that bathrobe. I think it turned out pretty cool.
Just before this scene, there was a scene where Joshua was grieving the loss of the Gundam, and some girls said, "There's that loser, Joshua Wolf." Yeah, this never would have happened if Mason was still here. And Mason's a character that'll show up later. But I decided that for time constraints, and that it didn't really add anything to the story, I cut it.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Joshua.
What's wrong?
I tried out to be a mobile suit pilot again.
I couldn't find anywhere a picture of a door that looked right, so I ended up, we actually went and took a picture, didn't we? At a local school, and then I had to figure out how to make the windows look like windows from an animated set of windows here on one of our buildings, the building that's from, and it turned out pretty cool.
The voice actor here is Dan Lewis. He's an old friend from high school, and he likes anime, so I was like, "Hey, you want to be a voice actor in my series?" And he said, "Yeah." He did fantastic. If you notice, there's a little Cosmo Fleet Magella ship in the background, Magellan. Put a lot of effort into building this movie set.
Oh, we scoured the Goodwill and different places so many times, looking in tiny little toy bins for miniature toys to get things like the boxes for the shelves and all kinds of stuff. Anything that we could get that was small scale.
I love this scene with Collins. Originally, Collins was going to die. Like, you know, when she got cut in half, that was it. She was done. But Chelsea Martin did such a great job voicing Collins and bringing her to life and kind of three-dimensional that I was like, I can't kill her. I just can't do it. And so we pulled the regular Gundam trick and had her survive somehow. You know, her cockpit didn't get cut in half. It got cut just below. So here she is. She's been rescued by this guy named Rev. And you get to see into Collins' character. She's, if you will, the second co-star. She's the co-star of Gundam Father of Peace.
We'd originally done these flashback scenes without the edging on there, but it was a little hard to tell what was taking place, whether we were in real time or not, and so we kind of wanted to have more of a dream sequence feel, so we added that edging.
This is way before I ever planned on doing space scenes. There's a reason I don't do space scenes very often, is because there are a lot of work and a lot of research and development. But I think these came out pretty good. There's a couple little things that I would have liked to improve, but the thing about stop motion animation is your skills constantly get better, and you have to look forwards instead of backwards. Otherwise, you'll never actually produce anything because you'll be redoing it all the time.
I love watching all of the animation things our editors were able to do, the tears. I made Shade Larry wink on the intro, and it was played again.
Gotta interrupt. We worked on this one scene right here for like 2 months, and then you have the dust kick up when the gun parry lands. That little shot took 2 months. It was horrible.
A lot of work.
And Alan, sir, make sure he does it all by himself.
Yes, sir.
The engineer has it in for Joshua. It's actually played by Chelsea Martin's husband, Ryan Martin.
If you saw those doors again, we actually made a large scale for the G.I. Joe and a small scale for the Gundam scale so that we could have it on that building.
I like how they say Kathy's a very qualified pilot when Kathy just freaked out and got sniped in the head.
I like this interplay between the two characters here. Shade Larry with the confidence that comes from authority backing her, but not exactly losing her femininity here. Her figure helps.
Shaylery is hot.
It was kind of fun to tell off the commander.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, The hangar. How many of us were building that hangar long before we started this thing?
Of my friends helped me build that mobile suit hangar.
Not
Years
even
ago.
not even Gundam fanatics. It was just a bunch of friends together, and Brandon had this idea. We had this weird computer stand thing someone had given us, and so he brought a whole bunch of random parts up, and we just had at it.
This was a lot of work right here. This was our first G.I. Joe chroma key. Trying to scale G.I. Joes down to the size of the Gundam stuff, and it was very difficult because we had to scale it between our miniatures and everything else and different types of miniatures. It was a lot of work.
You wouldn't think it would be quite as hard as it ended up being, but then you have to keep the colors correct without getting little edges of things. That's one of the hardest things about green screening, to make turn out right, especially depending on the software that you have.
Yeah, you go in one direction with the chroma key, and the orange would chroma key out perfectly, and then Shade Laree would disappear because she was being chroma keyed out. And then you chroma key Shade incorrectly, and the orange guys would have blue around them. And it's like, you just wanted to bang your head against a wall. This was actually the scene that slowed everything down the most. Right at the end.
Yep, there's the spy again. Apparently he's got the information that he needs to get on Commander Vernon's good graces. Which you'll see later that Razor exactly, it's a good indication that Razor might have known, but it's later to be seen if he actually knew this ahead of time.
And then there's Shadow, who I mentioned R.C. Mangan earlier. He did the music for the intro and for the title sequence. R.C. Mangan. Oh, this part always gets me.
By the way, this is fake fur spray painted. So cool.
They don't even let you grieve his loss. Cut the crap, sissies. That was a guy named Mike Harris at my work. He was also in Zaku's Last Stand, another one of our stop motions. But Shadow is voiced by R.C. Mangan, and he's just one mean mercenary.
My name is Shadow.
After you take over the base, I'll bring the Gallop over, and then we'll load it up.
I didn't agree to stocking boxes.
I believe we reused those rocks in different ways over time, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we're always reusing those rocks, repainting them, recutting them. Styrofoam does not go to waste around here.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Reflocking them. This is a great play between Joshua and his friend.
Yeah, it really brought out more of Joshua's character, because it's a little hard to see from other scenes without this part just what kind of a guy he is. You know, he's a little bit brusque with Kathy, but now you find out in this scene his friend likes her, so of course he wasn't going to encourage her to like Joshua. Originally the line included something that let you know that Shade actually heard that whole interplay, but you're left wondering now the way we left it.
And then Ryan tries to hit on her.
Where were you stationed before here?
I'm busy right now.
Epic fail.
I admit that was hard for me to do that line and leave it at that, because it's hard to be that cruel.
I love these Dom version 2s. They're one of my favorite MSIA action figures.
That was actually filmed outside.
Yeah. Sarah doesn't let me use fireworks or fire in the house because she's mean. Doesn't she understand we're making a movie here? Why can't I use fireworks in the house? Seriously, Greg.
And no, it's just really interesting, and especially this particular scene is also interesting. How the tanks just seemed to stop at the right moment and not just ran over her.
By the way, we started with entirely just miniatures like her and the spy, and then we had to come up with G.I. Joes once we started adding those in that would match well and paint them to match each other.
Yeah, it's true. We originally weren't going to use G.I. Joes. We were just using miniatures and Gundams. That's it. Then I got kind of daring, and I bought Joshua Wolf's character in a space suit, and it worked well. So we just started buying more G.I. Joes, and now we have an army of like 200 G.I. Joes.
It added a lot of more humanity, I think, because you can identify a lot more with a face that looks like a face instead of a blob.
That was our first mouth animation with the new style where the jaw actually drops. Next time. No, second.
Father Peace. We head out for the Oxford.
Ah, next time. Good stuff coming.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. You're going to see some infantry battles and just a lot of heart pumping action that are just going to keep you on your seats.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our extra release of the Gundams R Us commercial. Gundams R Us is the eBay store that provides some money to Gundams R Us, or to Gundam Father of Peace, to help fund our stop motions. And a lot of that money goes into paint and props and things like that. We spend a lot of money on props trying to build these sets.
Now, do you honestly think a Gundam can survive this? I don't think so.
Amuro did.
Now, on this thing, we actually discussed the idea of maybe dropping a ball down, but that quickly got scrapped because we thought that the tank was just bad enough.
Yeah, pretty much. And so now we're to the end credits. You've watched our commentary version. I hope you enjoyed it. There's originally Gundam Father of Peace Episode 1 had twice as much stuff planned for it. It was going to be longer than this, and then I realized, oh, we've hit our capacity for a half-hour time slot. I guess parts 3 and 4 will be Episode 2. And so, yeah, that's what we did.
And actually, because of that, we had planned on a third release, a third part, and didn't even get to put in the commercial break in the middle. So this may be the first you've seen of the commercial break.
Yeah, we had to make a few modifications to we made it in time for our release date and then realized it needed to be more episodic in feel. And so it's been re-released now as an episode version.
Which means that we lost 30,000 views, right?
No, we lost some 3,000 views, but we'll get them back. You know, you look at all the names on here. A lot of people volunteered for this, and I thank every single one of them, because the series wouldn't be in existence without the fans and the people who were brave enough to put themselves out there to be voice actors. People from college, people from high school, fans of the series. This cute girl I married.
I have a personal thank you for our editors like Greg and Josiah and David and probably some others, because with their painstaking editing, I had less painstaking editing to do. Also,
yes, I was the original editor.
Also, there were some people who have helped out greatly with painting. Brandon knows names, and that's another thing that I kind of got swamped by a while ago. So,
Did I mention I need our Oxel Gundam painted? No, really.
With all that, yeah, I need to do it. With all of that work, Brandon doing all of the major stuff and me doing all of the detailed stuff, there was an amazing amount of detailed stuff that had to be done, especially when we started doing mouths and all that editing. Brandon did a lot of the battle editing, though. He's really good at figuring out how to do things like the explosions.
Well, we're pretty much out of time. As you can tell, we have plenty of stuff to say, except for Greg. He's kind of quiet. But he's a mole anyways. So thanks for watching.
Yes, thanks for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the Spy and Razor and also the Shadow. You'll probably see them a lot more in future episodes.
Hope you're looking forward to episode 2.
Yeah, see you at episode 2.